There's this myth floating around that women are these impossible puzzles, complicated, mysterious, and impossible to figure out. But here's the thing, every woman has a weak point. And no, I don't mean it in a manipulative or creepy way. I mean that little soft spot that gets to her heart, that thing that makes her drop the walls she's been holding up. Let's get something straight. Women are strong, stronger than most people give them credit for. They handle pressure, emotions, and expectations like total warriors. But the stronger someone is, the more interesting it gets when you discover the one thing that really melts them. So what is it? What's the weak point? Here's the kicker. It's not the same for everyone. For some, it's words, compliments, not the cheap kind, not the rehearsed stuff, real, thoughtful words that show you, see her, notice the way she laughs, the way her mind works, the little quirks she has. When you point those out, you're not just giving her attention, you're giving her recognition, and recognition is powerful. For others, it's action. You hold open the door when you didn't have to. You remember the tiny details she mentioned in passing. You show up when she least expects it. Those little actions whisper, "You matter," louder than any words ever could. And then there's vulnerability. This is the one people don't talk about enough. A woman's weak point often reveals itself when you show yours. When you drop the armor, when you stop pretending like you have it all figured out, when you admit your fears, your struggles, suddenly she feels safe enough to do the same. That safety, that's the soft spot that pulls her closer. Here's the bottom line. Every woman's weak point is the thing that makes her feel most human, most seen, most understood. And you don't need to play games or act like someone you're not. The moment you learn to connect with that side of her, the real side, that's when she lets you in. So don't overthink it. Don't get lost in the noise of what do women want. Instead, pay attention, listen, observe, and be real. That's where the weak point lives. And if you can find it, not only will you unlock a part of her most people never reach, but you'll also earn a place in her heart that she'll never forget. You know what's funny? People are constantly asking, what's the one thing women can't resist? What's their ultimate weak point? They imagine some magical line, some secret trick, some formula that just flips a switch. But here's the truth that almost nobody talks about. Every woman's weak point is about being seen, like actually seen, not in the superficial way where you just notice she has nice hair or a cute smile, but in the way where she feels like you understand something about her that most people overlook. I think about it. Every single day, women get bombarded with surface level comments. You're hot. You're pretty. You look good in that dress. And sure, that might make her smile for a second, but it doesn't stick. Why? Because it's shallow. It doesn't go deeper than what anyone with working eyes could already see. But when you actually notice the details, when you point out the way she talks with passion about something she cares about, or how she laughs with her whole body, or how she goes quiet when she's lost in thought, that hits different. That's when she realizes, whoa, he's paying attention. That's the crack in the armor. That's the soft spot. Because no matter how tough or confident a woman looks on the outside, deep down, every human being, she wants to be recognized for who she really is. And here's the kicker. Most people don't bother to go there. They just skim the surface. They play it safe. So when someone actually takes the time to notice the little things, it feels rare. It feels special. And when something feels rare and special, it becomes unforgettable. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a girl who always puts on a strong front. She's independent. She's got a life together. She doesn't need anybody. And she probably hears 100 empty compliments from guys every week. But then one day, you notice the way she fiddles with her necklace whenever she's nervous. You mention it gently, like you do that thing with your necklace when you're thinking hard. It's kind of cute. Bam. Her heart skips a beat, not because it was a cheesy line, but because you picked up on something that wasn't obvious, something personal, something that made her feel seen. And that right there is her weak point. It's not her looks. It's not the compliments she gets all the time. It's the recognition that you're actually paying attention to her, that you see the human underneath the surface. That's what every woman secretly craves, but rarely admits. Now here's where it gets even better. Being seen isn't just about pointing out quirks. It's also about understanding her perspective. Like when she's talking about her goals, her frustrations, her dreams, And you don't just nod your head waiting for your turn to speak, but you actually engage, you ask questions, you connect dots, you remember the little details she told you weeks ago and bring them up later. That's the stuff that blows her mind, because suddenly she realizes you're not just hearing her, you're listening, and listening is the fastest way to make someone feel valued. There's a reason why people fall for those who make them feel understood. It's because so many of us go through life feeling invisible, like no one really gets us. And when someone finally does, that's when the walls come crashing down. That's when the tough exterior melts away. That's when she lets you in. The beautiful thing about this is that it's not about manipulation. It's not about saying what you think she wants to hear. It's about authenticity. If you're just pretending to care, she'll smell it a mile away. But if you genuinely notice the little things, if you genuinely care about her thoughts, her feelings, her quirks, then she'll feel that truth in her bones. That's the difference between a fake compliment that goes in one ear and out the other, and a real observation that lives in her heart for years. So when people ask me what's a woman's weak point, my answer is simple. It's being deeply, honestly seen, not for her makeup, not for her body, not for the mask she wears in front of the world, but for her true self, the version of her that she doesn't show to everybody. And when you reach that level, when you show her that you can see that version of her, you're no longer just another person in the crowd. You become someone unforgettable. And let me tell you, once you've unlocked that, it's a game changer, because now she's not thinking about whether you're good looking enough or smooth enough or rich enough. She's thinking about how you made her feel. And feelings, those stick. Long after the moment passes, long after the conversation ends, long after she walks away, the feeling of being seen will replay in her mind. And she'll remember you. Not because you were the loudest, not because you were the flashiest, but because you touched that hidden weak point that every woman carries inside. That's the secret most people miss. And that's the difference between being forgettable and staying in her head forever. You know what drives people crazy? Overthinking. Like seriously, we live in this world where everyone's trying to crack the code. What do women want? What's the secret formula? What exact thing should I say so she'll like me? And let me be brutally honest with you. Most of that energy is wasted because connection beats guessing games. Every single time. Here's the thing, women aren't sitting around with a giant checklist, waiting to see if you tick all the boxes, like some kind of job interview. They're human beings. They want to feel good around you. They want to feel safe, comfortable, interested, excited. And the fastest way to kill all of that, playing games, pretending, overthinking every move like it's chess. When you get lost in that headspace trying to predict her every thought, you actually come off more awkward, more insecure, and less attractive. Why? Because you're not being real. You're not present. You're stuck inside your head, running strategies instead of connecting with the actual person in front of you. And trust me, women notice. They can feel when you're putting on an act. It's like a sixth sense. So what's the alternative? Simple. Stop trying to play the game and just connect. Ask questions because you're curious, not because you're trying to get somewhere. Share stories because they mean something to you, not because you think they'll impress her. Listen to her answers instead of planning your next line in your head. That kind of authenticity is rare and it's magnetic. And let's be real here. How many guys does she meet who are just recycling the same lines, the same fake compliments, the same tired routines? Tons. And after a while, it all blurs together. But the guy who actually listens, the guy who makes her feel heard, the guy who reacts naturally without trying to script everything, that guy stands out. He's memorable. He's the one she thinks about later. Now let's take it deeper. Connection doesn't mean you're just nodding and smiling at everything she says. It means engaging. It means showing her that her thoughts spark something in you. Like if she tells you about a hobby she loves, don't just say, that's cool. Ask her why she loves it. Ask her how she got into it. Maybe even share how it connects to something in your own life. Suddenly you're not just making small talk. You're building a thread, and threads weave into something stronger. And here's a little secret. Women remember the way conversations feel, not just the words that were said. If she felt like she could open up to you, if she felt like you got her, if she felt comfortable being herself, that's what sticks. That's what makes her want to see you again, not whether you delivered some perfectly polished one-liner. You know what else happens when you stop playing games? You relax. And when you relax, she relaxes. Because vibes are contagious. If you're tense, guarded, or constantly trying to perform, she feels that pressure. But if you're just being you, open, curious, light-hearted, she feels that too. And suddenly the whole dynamic shifts. You're not two people testing each other. You're two humans sharing a moment. And here's where people get it twisted. Being authentic doesn't mean being perfect. In fact, your imperfections are often the very things that make you relatable. Maybe you stumble over your words. Maybe you admit you were nervous at first. Maybe you laugh at yourself when you mess up. That's not weakness. That's realness. And realness is powerful because games are predictable, but authenticity, that's refreshing. Let me hit you with some honesty. Women don't want a robot who's memorized all the right things to say. They want someone who makes them feel. And feelings don't come from genuine connection, from laughter, from vulnerability, from curiosity, from that spark that happens when you're not trying too hard. You're just present. Think about the times in your own life when you felt closest to someone. It wasn't because they played their cards right in some strategic dating game. It was because you shared a moment of real understanding. Maybe you laughed until your stomach hurt. Maybe you told them something you usually keep hidden and they didn't judge you. Maybe they just looked at you and you knew they were really paying attention. That's the kind of connection that sticks. So stop worrying about saying the perfect thing. Stop trying to read her mind. Stop stressing over what move to make next. Instead, lean into the moment. Notice the little details. Ask her about her world. Share pieces of yours. That's how you tap into her weak point, not with manipulation, not with games, but with authenticity. Because here's the truth. Games are forgettable. They're shallow. They fade as quickly as they start. But real connection, that's the stuff that lingers. That's the thing she thinks about when she's lying in bed at night, scrolling through her phone, wondering why she can't get you out of her head. And honestly, that's the goal. Not to win some imaginary game, but to connect so deeply that you become the person she remembers long after the conversation is over.